Welcome back to Glendale Today. I'm Vice Mayor Hugh. We're here at the Glendale Regional Public Safety Training Center, and we're continuing our conversation with Lieutenant Earl Montgomery, who's in charge of the officer training that goes on here at this facility. Lieutenant Montgomery, before we continue, tell me a little bit about your career with the Glendale Police Department.
I've been with the department about 18 years, and I've been fortunate to do many different things in the department, but training has always been there throughout my career. And early on, I was a recruit training officer at the Arizona Law Enforcement Academy. I was a longtime field training officer and a field training sergeant for many years, and now I'm the training lieutenant. So it's no coincidence that training has stayed with me, and I have a true passion for it, so I'm very grateful to have this opportunity.
Lieutenant, you showed us the shooting range, the MILO range theater, and the box drill reaction exercise. Now let's take a look at those.
Let the police stop! Stop! Put your hands up where I can see them. Gun.
With the indoor training facility, the MILO range, and Sergeant McDaniel is going to explain how it works.
Well, on this system here, this is our simulated drills that we use with our officers. We bring them in here. Obviously, this is a non-lethal situation. We take away their weapon systems from them. We issue them these guns here, which has lasers in them. They also have a trigger reset, so it acts exactly the way their normal weapon works in the street. They come in here, usually they come in here every year for at least what's called their judgment shoot, which is an Arizona Post certification that they have to go through every year. They'll come in here, we pick out certain scenarios. We pick out what is called lethal shoot scenarios. We pick out non-shoot scenarios, which is basically giving verbal commands. And then we also pick out challenge scenarios, which is something that if the suspect did something, they could engage lethally. But if the officer provides enough verbal contact with the suspect will stop doing their action. Thus, it will come down to a non-lethal situation, which is really important to understand that an officer can escalate to lethal, but also de-escalate just as fast.
Drop your weapon. Do it now. Do it now.
So we bring them in here at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. We use different props that we have in here. We have a wall, we have a trash can. We use those, what we call cover and concealment. Obviously, a wall is more cover, the trash can is more of a concealment, making sure that they use proper cover and concealment. We make sure that when they're in here that they're able to, proper draws, proper language that they're using. We have video cameras. There's 4 video cameras in here, so we can actually record everything that they do. We can actually play it back to them to show them when they think, yeah, I was behind cover. No, let me show you. See how much you're exposing of yourself. So we can show those type of things. We can also show how they give commands in the way that they look. Because remember, a lot of a police officer's command is just his presence and the way that he acts. When they come in here, like I said, it's all laser operated, so we actually will play this back to them and actually show them where their shots are being fired. One of the new features that they have with this system is we can actually turn all the lights off in here. We can actually dim down the actual system itself, where they have to use a special light, and there's 2 special lights. One is actually a gun light that goes on, and the other one is a handheld light, and there's specialized infrared lenses in here that they'll project on there. It looks just like a flashlight, except there's no light emitting from here. And that shows us, are they using good proper tactics in reference to their light discipline? Are they making sure that they are using light discipline when they need to use light discipline? And it's another way for us to be able to judge their ability to see lethal threats in a night situation, especially for our officers that are working swing shifts and graveyards.
It sounds like a great big video game and sounds fun to me, but I'm sure when you're going through this, taking it seriously, it's got to be a lot of tension for these officers.
It is. They have to interact with it because the camera is going to be going, they're going to be on camera. They have to interact with whatever's up on the screen. So it does, depending on the scenario that you give them, it can definitely raise the tension a little bit in here.
If they make a mistake, does that become also part of the training?
Absolutely. We have to go over it, recorrect that mistake, make sure that we have other scenarios that are similar to it. We don't go over the same scenario. We'll go over the similar scenarios to make sure that whatever mistakes that they made during that one scenario are corrected. Because when we go out to the street, we want to make sure they have the most up-to-date knowledge and most up-to-date tactics.
Do you think we can get like Lieutenant Montgomery to come in and demonstrate this for us?
I'm sure he'd be willing to do that.
Let's do it.
Okay.
You are responding to a call of an armed suspect at a local dry cleaners.
Please, stop it!
And then what we would do at this point in time, we discuss his tactics, because I've watched all of his screens here. He had excellent tactics, very good verbal commands. And what you're going to notice, and a police officer is going to notice this faster than a normal civilian, is this gentleman had a gun straight down. Obviously, the female was absolutely in danger. He told him to drop the gun, and he actually started raising the gun. And you'll see where the first shot is, you can actually see the gun is now pointed at the officer, where initially it was directly down below, absolutely pointed, and he's bringing the gun up to the officer. And that is absolutely, and how fast did that happen? That was, a split second. That happened within 2 seconds. He gives the command, that gun's coming up, and he has to take lethal action at that point.
Sergeant, it was fast. Lieutenant, I'm not sure. I'm watching it. I'm getting nervous, but it was over within seconds.
Basically, this is one of those that, because life is not static, our situations that we're in evolve all the time. So some of these are designed to be kind of a rapid progression so that we can kind of train our brain to look for certain things and recognize threats or not recognize a threat. So this is to kind of train your senses to react quickly. And this is a very, very quick scene for you to respond with, recognizing that he has a weapon, that there's a female in harm's way, and then as he's bringing it up, I'm already out of the holster because this is a call that's telling me that this is an armed suspect call. But just to recognize that in time to respond, that's really what we're trying to do there.
Nice shooting, Lieutenant. I never even saw the gun. It happened that fast to me, and I'm just back here observing it, and it was fast.
Now, we're expecting our officers on an armed disturbance and our armed subject to immediately be out of the holster, because you don't know what you're going to engage in, as you can see how fast this happens. Now, this exact same scenario, we can play it a little bit different and have maybe a different ending.
Please drop the weapon. Drop your weapon. Back away and drop the weapon now. Drop your weapon. Hands up where I can see them. Keep your hands up.
See, the exact same scenario, excellent commands by the lieutenant. He noticed that if you look at it, and again, the officer has to take the totality of the circumstances into what he's dealing with. If you notice, even in the way he was holding the gun in this scenario, he's not gripping the gun as in a pistol grip. He's actually holding it almost as an open hand and with the receiver. That's a clue to you as an officer, he's not ready to shoot right now. He immediately looked up at the lieutenant but did not display the gun or start bringing the gun up. The gun never moved, it stayed low. He backed away from the female, which now allows the female to have some more safety. And he was talking to the lieutenant, advising him, yep, he's going to comply, and he complied. And thus, now we went from a lethal situation to an absolute non-lethal situation that quickly.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw all that because I didn't see any of that. This one, I could see the gun, but I didn't realize how he was holding the gun, right? And the threat was a little bit less.
Correct. And we expect the officers to be aware of that and to understand when they come into a situation to be looking for those things. We teach our officers, look for the hands. The hands are what's going to hurt you. When you see something in the hand, how are they holding it? And in this case, he's definitely not holding that weapon as a normal shooter would hold it. And he never moved that weapon. That muzzle, that gun stayed down at all times, and never did he even attempt to bring that gun up.
Yeah, just watching this scenario, my heart's racing. I can't imagine what it'd be like in real life to get out of your squad car and have to confront this on a how you guys do constantly. And it's a shoot, don't shoot, and what's going to happen next.
Yeah, these decisions are made very quickly out there.
And so this MILO theater is such a valuable asset because, as you saw, it's the same setting, but different outcome because the operator can control that. So officers aren't coming in with the old systems that we had. FATS was one of them. You couldn't help but memorize. I recognize this is what's going to happen. So that's the great thing is there's so many things they can change. They could change the outcome of it, and therefore I'm always really trying my hardest to decipher what's going on and say, well, I know this is going to unfold this way and I can take this action. That's what I love about it. And you saw that it's the same scenario run two different ways.
How often do the officers have to receive this training?
We do the MILO judgment shoot once a year.
Do you do others besides a judgment shoot where you might have 2 officers or 3 officers at the same time?
We do.
We're able to put up to 4 officers on this system, but right now we just deal with 2 because that's more realistic. We'll bring 2 in. Again, the same thing. We can put a scenario together that maybe they've seen before run one way, and we'll run it a whole different way. There's approximately 500 scenarios on this system, plus every year it gets updated with new scenarios that we go through. Now, some of the scenarios obviously are not what we considered realistic scenarios. We try to use what we believe our officers are going to see in the street. We try to keep it realistic for them. But what I love about it is that we can change any of the outcomes we want. We can change it from a lethal situation to a non-lethal situation to a challenge situation. And the officers don't know what they're going to come into. We do like to use a 2-officer approach. One is because you're seeing how well they work together. Is one seeing something that another one's not seeing? We have the ability with this system here, when there is 2 officers, that we can divide their attention. There are scenarios in which 2 things are happening at one time, and they have to be able to relate to those things. Because what one officer's seeing, because he's viewing one side of the screen as a non-lethal situation, the other officer who's dealing with another subject on the other side of the screen becomes a lethal situation. And then how does this officer over here react to his non-lethal situation?
It's amazing what you guys can do and using electronics.